this evening is a message that's a part two of a title entitled The Remnant That Remains. And this passage that we're going to be exegeting tonight is particularly interesting in Isaiah chapter 6 in relation as well to Habakkuk chapters 1 and 2, especially in light of the news we got just yesterday of the army takeover of Washington, D.C. And Trump is threatening to do the same in Chicago and other cities where there are big Hebrew populations. It's happening just as Habakkuk was told, the prophet Habakkuk was told in chapter 1 that a heathen Babylonian king, like the eagle, would come into our crime-infested Hebrew areas because of our disobedience to Torah. That means we could not expect that the mayhem we have done in our communities, as my brother Michael sent me the news the other day here in Chicago, we had 2,000 youth gathered on the west side in the Austin area. And when they all came together, they just started shooting. 4 people got killed or shot. I can't remember exactly how many got killed. And this is going on throughout our community. Do you think that y'all just gonna step back and let Israel get by with mayhem like that? And that's what we've got to understand. This is happening as Habakkuk had foretold in chapter 1 of Habakkuk. He said, for this reason, Yah said he would raise up a Babylonian king to inflict punishment on the Hebrew community. In Habakkuk's time, it was Nebuchadnezzar who was the Babylonian king. Today, in our time, it's the Babylonian king Donald Trump, another king of Babylon. And America is Mystery Babylon. So tonight's lesson is entitled The Remnant That Remains. And it will be connected with the book of Habakkuk chapter 1 and chapter 2 together. But in Isaiah, the scripture text reads, verse 8 through 13 of chapter 6, quote, also I heard the voice of Yah saying, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Then said I, here am I, send me. And he said, go and tell this people, hear you indeed, but understand not, and see you indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts, and convert, and be healed. Then I said, Yah, how long? And he answered, until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate. Yah have removed men far away, and there shall be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. But yet in it shall be a tenth, and it shall return, and shall be eaten as a tall tree, and as an oak whose substance is in them. When they cast their leaves, so the seed, the holy seed, shall be the substance thereof. Hallelujah. Tonight's lesson, hallelujah. Tonight's lesson entitled The Remnant that remains, part 2, will investigate the prophetic meaning in verses 9 through 11 as to how long the Israelite people would be an incoherent people to Yah's message regarding their role and place as the chosen Israelite people in the emergence of the kingdom of Yah. The Messiah Yeshua explained in Matthew chapter 13, verses 14 through 15, that this incoherence and lack of understanding that Israelites have regarding their role as the chosen people in the coming kingdom of Yah is due to a stubborn refusal to want to understand Yah's plans for them, as he pointed out, as I must point out by teaching and quoting from parts of Isaiah chapter 6, verses 9 through 10, combined with Isaiah chapter 29, verse 13, as stated by our master in quoting those passages in Matthew 13, verses 14 through 15, quote, and he said, go and tell this people, hear you indeed, but understand not. See you indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert and be healed. Wherefore the master said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. The prophet Isaiah describes examples of the stubborn resistance among Israelites to the kingdom truth of Yah's word, as cited in Isaiah chapter 29, verse 10, verse 11 through 13, quote, and the vision of all of you is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. And the man, and the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I am not learned. Wherefore Yah said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. In Isaiah chapter 6, verse 11, the prophet asks Yah, how long will this stubborn incoherence of the Israelite people to the counsel of the will of Yah last? And Yah responds, as stated in verses 11 through 13, again, that strong judgments would come upon them that will result in only a coherent remnant of survivors who will remain, again as stated. Then said I, Yah, how long? And he answered, until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate, and Yah have removed men far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. But yet in it shall be a tenth, and it shall return, and shall be eaten as a tell tree, and as an oak whose substance as in them, and when they cast their leaves, so the holy seed shall be the substance thereof. Hallelujah. Also in Isaiah chapter 29, verse 10 through 14, and verse 20, it states regarding this people, for Yah poured upon them the spirit of deep sleep, and have closed their eyes. The prophets and your rulers, the seers, have he covered, And the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. And the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he said, I am not learned. Wherefore Yah said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, and have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. Therefore, behold, I proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder. For the wisdom of the wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off. Hear what the Ruach has to say today within the so-called Hebrew community. When people watch each other to carjack one another, people watch each other to home invade one another, people watch one another to kill each other. Do you think the Most High just sits back and will do nothing just because George Soros is paying the elected prosecutors in our counties who do nothing because they're paid off? They're from our community, but they're bought off and paid off by George Soros money that want to destroy the infrastructure of the criminal justice system and bring chaos in our communities. And as the New World Order statement was, ordo ab chaos, out of chaos bring order. So they create the chaos. My brother here, Michael, and I worked all those years in the criminal justice system, and we saw it. By the time we both retired, we saw it was almost considered to be an act to be fired, to say no to disrespect among our young people. Now that the young people are unleashed, they're doing all the mayhem and craziness. And then everybody keeps thinking, well, if something's done to correct it, that all they need is some programs, like a little money here, a little money there, and this and that, these little weak-need programs. Midnight basketball used to be one of them. That's not working. They only know discipline. You take that away, you done lost them. Of course, it's got to be done with love, but you take that away from them. You get prosecutors that let them back out to create mayhem, gangbang, carjack. They have no respect for the elders. Y'all saying, well, if the government, the system, and the system particularly here in most of our urban areas is run from people from the Hebrew community who are bought out, sold out, compromised, whether they're in Detroit, whether they're in Chicago, LA, New York. They may look black, they may look like they're from the same people that you're from, but at the same time, they're bought out and sold out to special interest groups to let you harbor illegal immigrants who come from gangs in South America. And so everybody getting mad at Donald Trump, that he's the bad guy. Inevitably, Yah says, ultimately, if you want to blame somebody, blame me. I'm doing this to you. I'm doing this to you. Do you hear what the Ruach has to say? For he said, the terrifying one. These are your carjackers, your robbers, your muggers. The ones that beat up old people, shoot indiscriminately, whether it's old, young, children, they don't care. You think Yah's going to let them keep being released without bail to create more hell? I beg you not. He will not. And these people who we keep putting in just because they're black, they mean us no good. because they are bought out and sold out, and they have no special interest to make our communities better. They only want us to be paid off. And that's when Yah said, the wise men, their wisdom will perish. The understanding of the prudent men will be hid. Our judges, our mayors. I have no sympathy for the mayor of DC. I have no sympathy for the mayor of Chicago. I have no sympathy for them, because I know they were bought out and sold out to do nothing and let their own neighborhoods and communities fall into decay and disruption. Well, I'm here to tell you, we are chosen. If they won't do it, Yah said, I'm going to do it. And you're not going to like how I'm going to do it. But Yah will straighten it out. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off. Now, evidently, the prophet Habakkuk heard something similar as Isaiah, particularly where Yah told Isaiah, as recorded in chapter 29, verse 14, therefore, behold, I proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder, for the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid. Habakkuk likewise heard from Yah that amazing or marvelous judgments were coming upon Israelites for all the violence and crime in their communities, just as Isaiah had spoken of in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 15. And when you spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. Yea, when you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. But the prophet Habakkuk lamented to Yah about the abhorrent violence and crime among Israelites, and that his community leaders had turned a blind eye in addressing these injustices done by criminal violence and bloodshed. And law enforcement and Israelite leadership had become slack, and the court system had become impotent in dealing with crime. As stated in Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 1 through 4, the burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. O Yah, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? Even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save? Why dost thou show me iniquity and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that rise up strife and contention. He's saying, why do you let me see this injustice in my own hood, in my own community? Why you let me see all this madness that gets me mad and upset when I see a baby killed who's in innocent bystander, when I see mothers walking with their children robbed by gunpoint from a knucklehead who don't want to take time to learn and get a job. How long do I have to keep seeing that? That's what Habakkuk's complaining about. Similar as today, we see it 24/7 on news. How long, he said, do I have to keep seeing this? Verse 4, therefore the law is slack, and judgment never goes forth. They're getting away scot-free. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. The judges, the benches, are letting them get away literally with murder. And this is a habit and a pattern that ancient Israelites had. It's the same habit and pattern we see with modern Israelites in the urban areas of this country. Therefore, the law is slack. That is, it's not prosecuting justly. Judgment never goes forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore, wrong judgment proceedeth. But Yah's response to Habakkuk's pleas for justice among a spiritually incoherent Israelite populace is somewhat similar as to his response to Isaiah. in chapter 29, verse 14, and that he would do a marvelous corrective work among a spiritually incoherent and stubborn and unjust Israelite people. Quote, verse 14, therefore, behold, I will do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder. For the wisdom of their wise shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent ones shall be hid. Also, Yah tells Habakkuk that amazing judgments are coming upon the stubborn and spiritually incoherent and violently unjust Israelites, to be done by a Babylonian ruler, swift like an eagle, to be done upon them, as stated in chapter 1, verses 5 through 11. Quote, behold, ye among the heathen and regard and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days which you will not believe, though it be told you. For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. They are terrible and dreadful, their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. Their horses also are swifter than the leopards and are more fierce than the evening wolves. And their horsemen shall spread themselves, and their horsemen shall come from far. They shall fly as the eagle that hasteneth to eat. They shall come all for violence. Their faces shall sup up as the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity as the wind. Just today, Trump told the law enforcement in DC, do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. In other words, there's no repercussions to do what you want to do for the unlawful. There's no back, there's not going to be any scrutiny. The Justice Department has taken over the police force, the DOJ, the Department of Justice, and the FBI. I talked with one of our young brothers in DC last night. He said, Elder, I just see people walking around. They look like just regular cops with bulletproof vests with the caps on. Then he responded back to me at 5 o'clock this morning because he knew I'd be up. He said, Elder, I am corrected. I see Army units now patrolling the streets. In my hood, the area that I grew up in, Army patrolling. This is what this prophet is saying is portents of the future that's coming to Israel. And so that it says that they offend and they have no fear. They have no fear. The president over them now is saying, do what you want to do with them. So there won't be any investigations. And there won't be any commissions to investigate. They can just do what they want to do. And they shall scoff at the kings, and the princes shall be a scorn to them. They shall deride every stronghold, where they will heap dust and take it. That is, all the municipality powers, you have no more power in this. Your power is done because you didn't do anything in the first place to correct what needed to be corrected. And Yah is the great equalizer. He will correct. He'll even use people that don't know him to do it. And even this, he says in verse 11 of Habakkuk 1, then shall his mind change, he shall pass over and offend, imputing this, his power, unto his God. That is, he don't know Yah. He's thinking that his God's giving him the power over you. He doesn't know that your Elohim is giving him power over you, because your Elohim, our Father, he is disgusted with us. He said in Amos 2, Amos 3, you only have I known of all families. Therefore, I will punish you. And this is what, sad to say, is coming and is going to increase after so much resistance and stubbornness towards the word of Yah. Yah turns to a heathen Babylonian ruler named Nebuchadnezzar in the time of the prophet Habakkuk to be the new sheriff in town, an avenger over the unjust and spiritually incoherent Israelites during the time of the late 7th century BC. But in this time, Yah has raised up another heathen Babylonian king named Donald Trump to move into federal police occupation of the Israelite community of Washington, D.C. And he is threatening to take over Chicago law enforcement as well, over the Israelite community here and other cities. Now, a lot of people say, oh, he can't do that. What if Yah says he's going to do that? Who's going to stop him? I can tell you this. Donald Trump can't do it, but Yah can do it. And he will use people like Donald Trump. Why? Because we have inadequate and spiritually incoherent Black leadership that are morally bankrupt. But the prophet Habakkuk did not like that Yah would use Nebuchadnezzar, who was the Donald Trump of his time, to take over the Hebrew community, because the prophet reasoned this heathen ruler was more wicked than the Israelites themselves, as stated in Habakkuk chapter 1, verses 12 through chapter 2, verse 1. Art thou not from everlasting, O Yah, my Elohim, mine Holy One? We shall not die, O Yah. Thou hast ordained them for judgment. And O mighty Elohim, thou hast established them for correction. Thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil, and canst not look on iniquity. Wherefore lookest thou upon them that deal treacherously, and holdest thy tongue when the wicked devour the man that is more righteous than him, and makest men as the fishes of the sea, as the creeping things that have no ruler over them. They take up all of them with the angle. They catch them in their net and gather them in their drag. Therefore they rejoice and are glad. Therefore they sacrifice unto their net and burn incense unto their drag, because by them their portion is fat and their meat plenteous. Shall they therefore empty their net and not spare continually to slay the nations? Then Habakkuk, after saying this to Yah, he says in verse 1 of chapter 2, I will stand on my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. So today, this is Yah's response to those who are bemoaning the imposition of federal law enforcement over DC and the prospect of Donald Trump expanding his policy over other Hebrew communities in other cities in America, just as Habakkuk was bemoaning similarly regarding Nebuchadnezzar. Here is the word of Yah in response to yours and the prophet's concern when a heathen Babylonian king like Trump or Nebuchadnezzar emerges to exact Yah's judgment on the spiritually stubborn and dangerously incoherent Israelite people. Quote, verse 2, and Yah answered me and said, write the vision, make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end, in the end times, it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine. Now, this is the oppressor. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. He can't stay within his own parameters. He's got to be the world policeman, who enlarges his desire as hell. He's never satisfied, like hell was never satisfied. And as death, wherever he goes to intervene, death happens in every nation where he tries to do regime changes. Death, mayhem, and chaos follow wherever he goes. And he cannot be satisfied, but he gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Woe to the Chaldeans! Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? He doesn't own all the gold in Africa, but he's going to tell the guy at Burkina Faso, unless you make a deal with us for gold, we're going to bankrupt you. Yeah. So he's not satisfied with what he's got. He has that disease called avarice. It's a disease where he's never satisfied. And to him, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? To him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Now, this is to the one Yah uses to punish the Israelites, but then Yah decides he's going to punish the punisher of the Israelites because of his ways. As explained further here, verse 7 of chapter 2. Shall they not rise up suddenly that bite thee, and awake that vex thee, and thou shalt be plundered under them? See, Yah's raising up China and Russia and other coalitions of countries now against this Babylon, because thou hast spoiled and plundered many nations. All the remnant of the peoples shall plunder you because of men's blood and for the violence of the land and of the city and of all that dwell therein. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high. He wants to set so high, he wants to be on Mars. He wants to be on the moon. He wants to be over the world with his own defense system. He's saying, though he can't do protection for himself, even though he assumes he can, and make his nest to be on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the temple shall answer it. These are materials that they commandeered and took from other people. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establish a city by iniquity. Bloodshed of aboriginal people established this land. Bloodshed that killed so many, there's barely many left. Behold, verse 13, is it not Yahweh that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves for very vanity? For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of Yah as the waters cover the sea. And while he's tinkering and tampering with the world system, Yah is increasing knowledge. As it said in Daniel 12, knowledge in these days will increase. Many will go to and fro, and the knowledge of the glory of Yah is risen upon you as the waters cover the sea, while at the same time they who be in power attempt to command the world, but yet at the same time Yah grants more power through knowledge. But he declares in verse 15, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him and maketh him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Yeah, give them some far water. Give them some crack. Give them some cocaine imported by the CIA. Give them some drugs through their food, through the foods they eat, and the corrupt process of the manufacturing of the foods. Verse 16, thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of Yah's right hand shall be turned on you, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. For the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of beasts which made them afraid because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land and of the city and of all that dwell therein. What profited the graven image, that the maker thereof hath graven it, the molten image, and a teacher of lies, that the maker of his word trusted therein to make dumb idols? Woe unto him that saith to the wood, awake, to the dumb stone, arise, it shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. But Yah is in his Kodesh temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Notice in verses 17 of chapter 2 of Habakkuk, it states a judgment on this Babylonian ruler for his complicity of violence in Lebanon. Quote, for the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of beasts which made them afraid because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land and of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Also in Isaiah 29, that prophet says that in the time of violence in Lebanon, that some Israelites will wake up into the knowledge of the truth, as stated in verses 17 through 20 of Isaiah 29. Quote, is it not yet a very little while, and Lebanon shall be turned into a fruitful field, and the fruitful field shall be esteemed as a forest. And in that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness. The meek also shall increase their joy in Yah, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. For the terrifying one, the terrible one, is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off. Yes, they're spies. They're going to be cut off. So tonight, as we consider the question that Isaiah asks in chapter 6, verse 11, as to how long Israelites would be spiritually incoherent through the prophetic counsel of the word of Yah in the last days, both prophets, Isaiah and Habakkuk, said will happen in the time of Babylon's involvement in a war in Lebanon. So is the case now with America. Babylon supported the Zionist state of Israel's military actions in Lebanon. In the time of Habakkuk, it was ancient Babylon's military incursions into Lebanon. But unlike Habakkuk's time, these latter day times of Babylon America will see a remnant of Israelites who will awaken and emerge into the truth of the kingdom of Yah in their midst. And the prophet says they are a remnant holy seed, as stated, quote, verse 13 of chapter 6 of Isaiah. But yet in it shall be a tenth, and it shall return and shall be eaten, as a tall tree and as an oak, whose substance is in them, and they cast their leaves. So the holy seed shall be the substance thereof. Also in Isaiah chapter 10, verse 20 through 23, it states, and it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon Yah, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Yaakov, unto El Shaddai, the mighty Elohim. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. For Yah, Elohim of hosts, shall make a consumption even determined in the midst of all the land. Shaliach Shaul calls this, the Apostle Paul calls this Israelite remnant, the remnant of grace. In Romans chapter 11, verses 5 through 8, who are Israelites who have awakened to the truth while the others remain asleep, of whom he states in quotes from Isaiah 29:10, quote, Romans 11:10. For Yah poured upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and close your eyes. The prophets and your rulers, the seers, have he covered. But regarding the awakened remnant seed of Israelites mentioned in Isaiah chapter 6, verse 13, Shaliach Shaul states, even so, then at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. And if by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is of no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work. What then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have attained it, and the rest were blinded, according as it is written. Elohim have given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, unto this day. Finally, our Master Yahshua says to you, who are the awakened seed, the awakened people of Israel, in Matthew chapter 13, verse 11, quote, he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. And in chapter 13, verse 16 through 17 of Matthew, our master states, quote, but blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which you see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which you hear, and have not heard them. Hallelujah. Praise Yah.